Boom. Freaking
What
boom.
up?
What?
Dude.
What's up? Do you remember when that was a thing? We're old.
Yeah, it was a thing. There was a lot of things like that. Do you remember when those shirts that said "Make 7-Up yours" were a thing? Remember those shirts?
Those were so sick. My mom would not let me get one. Can you believe that? She was like, I
Because
don't
the
like
back of the
that it
shirt
says
said
up yours. I was like, what? Like, who cares? It's a make 7-Up, like make 7. And she's like, no. But I had the 7-Up video game. That game sucked and was very difficult. Very difficult.
I remember when those shirts were a thing and people were like, they felt that way about them. And then I remember like thinking to myself, like, the term "up yours" is so non-offensive. I'm not even sure why this is funny. Like, what about this is funny? Why do people think this is clever? That's like how like inoffensive I felt it was.
And then we were like, we should start our show with it because it's so clever.
It's so interesting to talk about. No, just kidding, guys. We're here to talk about The Nice Guys. This is a movie from 2016, produced by our good friend and your faction mate Ethan Irwin.
Yep.
That in 2016, this was like, do you remember when the trailer for this movie came out? Do you remember how fucking excited we were?
I mean, we get really excited for movie trailers that have epic music, probably some sick battle scene, a couple actors we love, maybe like a sun coming over the horizon at some point. But then there's also movies like this where we see the trailer, we're just like, are you kidding me? Are you Russell Crowe and Gosling? Black? Are you kidding me? This is going to be and it was just everything. We were dying in the movie theater. My mom even texted me yesterday. She was watching the top 5 action comedies that you need to watch before you die.
She's just watching it just because your mom is a saint?
She's a saint. I love her to death. She also will like text me like she's never watched these things before. Like the other day, she texted me about like what the first time we played top 10. And she was like, I'm watching this match against you in top 10. And then like an hour later, I get the, you won, yay. And I was like, it's happened years. I was like, all right, whatever. I love it. But anyway, she was specifically talking about us talking about The Nice Guys. And she was saying, you guys, that how much we were laughing on the show and that it was making her laugh a lot. And she like didn't even really remember the movie. But anyway, it just warmed my heart because she had no idea we were covering it today on GMEM, as they call it.
GMEM. It's probably a better abbreviation than AMA because it doesn't stand for anything else. And 100% of the time when you say AMA, people just think you're saying "Ask Me Anything." But you know,
definitely an oversight. Did Ask Me Anythings exist really when we started AMA? Like, were they as popular? Of like a thing? No, I mean, I know we didn't.
It's probably something that's existed for a while.
Look, man, we invented AMA, the 3 letters next to each other. I know we did. But yeah, so this is GMEM, and this is the greatest movie ever made, and this is The Nice Guys, and we love this movie, and I think the first thing that we always like to talk about on this show is the first thing we got to do is shout out a couple people, right? Because we got a couple new generals this week. We got a big time captain upgrade from our good friend Badur. Big time salute to you, girlfriend. And then, of course, we got generals that upgraded in the last week here. William Harold and Douglas Emmett. Big time salute to you two, gentlemen. I missed Douglas, Doug, in Call Sign Nickelodeon. Because of I
think if Douglas Emmett gets a call sign within 3 days of joining, I think we'll have a riot. I think we'll legitimately have a riot on our hands.
We don't want
like
that.
With it.
Yeah, I do. We can just call him Call Sign Nickelodeon in like 2 weeks. It'll be perfect.
I think Call Sign Nickelodeon's sweet. There's also some Doug things that I think we could go. Like, what was his band called? Banging on a trash can, serving on a street light. What was that band called?
Oh, I love that you remember I love that. I don't know.
Doug?
Quiz show. Where are you?
Quiz show.
I'll take 90s TV cartoon references for 700, please. But yeah, big time salute to you guys, Douglas Emmett, William Harold, and Badur. Thank you guys so much for your patronage, your support. And of course, I got to shout out Badur because she's giving out like 20 subscriptions on my Twitch.
Really?
She's just in there just giving them out like lollipops, man. And I just can't thank her enough. So yeah, thank you all. And Ben, are people going to be talking about this movie in 20 years? That's one of the first things that we like to talk about on Greatest Movie Ever Made. And I don't know, man. I don't know. What do you think?
The answer in this one, I think, is no. Because people aren't talking about it 4 years later, which is really tough. You know, I think so like in the sense, so when you ask that question, it's there's 2 levels to it, right? One thing that I notice a lot, and I mention them on literally every fucking show at this point, but on the rewatchables when they're talking about old movies, often you'll have this stuffy movie critic thing where they'll reference 5 movies, and I've never heard of any of them, right? They'll be like, oh, the big, bank robbery movies from, no, they have 5 movies, and I'll be like, it's not possible that I do everything I do in the Schmodown, but I've never heard of these 5 movies. You guys are talking about like they are somehow movies that I should have heard of. But I get it. If you're somebody that does that deep dive studying of the 70s and the 80s and the 60s, there'll be movies that were significant or prominent at the time that are not significant anymore. And I think the weirdest thing about like the era to era cultural thing is that there are only certain types of movies, and they have to have a certain kind of like grounding in culture to last. And for whatever reason, this movie is like a cult classic. Like people that love movies and love these actors in 20 years will remember. But a 17-year-old kid 20 years from now, 0 chance they've ever heard of The Nice Guys. I don't think there's even the slightest chance.
This will be the 21 years from now. Paul Oyama pulls, The Nice Guys, Ryan Reynolds, and Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe, 2016. Yeah, that's it. And you'll be like, how the hell does this kid know about that movie? Like that movie was like that came and went. Like, yeah, it's got stars in it, but like, come on. That'll be the pull in 20 something years from now. I like that. I think that's a good call. I guess. Like, I think you're right. I don't really think there's any argument against what you're saying, because I do think that will be one of those questions in 20 plus years from now, if the Schmodown still exists on a competitive level. That'll be a 5-pointer probably.
Question.
Yeah, definitely.
They'll list the 2 actors and they'll name the premise, and you'll just have to know, and people won't. Because like the truth of the matter is,
unless it gets a sequel, unless it ever gets a sequel, which I know we've heard like rumblings about, but I'm pretty sure it's just never going to happen. Which is such a bummer, because they even set it up at the end, right? With like another dumb case or whatever. So what were you going to say?
And we know that there were sequels, 2 sequels in mind, ready for this movie. There was a TV show that got greenlit, but then, Ethan Irwin came on and talked to us a little bit about that on the Action Guys a couple months ago. You guys can go listen to that if you haven't. But I do think that, the stars are big enough, right? So the argument last week when we were talking about the significance of Once Upon a Time was 2 massive stars and one of the most iconic movies they were ever in. So that's why my argument for why that movie would last in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. You can make a similar argument for this movie. It's just that I think Russell Crowe has 5 movies that are like his movies, right? They're like the ones that are going to like define his career. Yeah. And I think at this point, Gosling's got at least 3, if not 5 as well. And for neither of them, it's this movie. So like it will be significant in the way that like a movie from the 70s is significant because it had like Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman, but it's not All the President's Men. It's some fucking weird movie that neither of us has ever heard of that had those stars in it,
Yeah. So I think you hit the nail right on the head. I can't imagine any reason why this movie would be talked about more in 20 years from now. It's a bummer because I love it. And I think that even if it gets a sequel, unless the sequel is just incredible and it's in like, let's say, God, what's the latest that Crow could do a sequel and it wouldn't just be like laughable that he's too old and like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's already kind of laughable in this movie, which is what makes him so wonderful.
But like, when does he become Anthony Hopkins in The Edge? Right? When you're just like,
I think if Crow does a sequel to this movie anytime in the next 6 years, it's believable.
Yeah. That being said, I just want everyone to know I do love Anthony Hopkins in The Edge. I'm not saying I don't like him in there. But yeah, I think that's also correct. I think it's probably around 6 years. So imagine if in 6 years from now, right, 2026. Yeah, it's like Gosling and Crow teaming up again for the sequel, and like Crow's like so on his way out. He's so over it, like working as a PI even more so than he is in this one. Like, God, I would watch that in a heartbeat.
I'd watch the shit out. And that's the thing is, if they made a Netflix show about this, they made The Nice Guys, the Netflix show with Gosling and Crow, I'd be so all over it, right?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of one of the comments
Go ahead. Sorry.
I've heard a lot of people say about this movie that it feels like an old TV show. It feels a little bit like watching an old like 80s TV show.
And it's the writing is so good. There's so many subtle moments that are followed by like in your face, slap you in the face comedy moments. But then there's also that happens at the exact same time, numerous times where he'll slip something in the writing that's just hilarious. And you're like, why is that in there? You were talking about it in the General's bunker beforehand. There's just like kind of this irreverence about this inappropriate irreverence throughout the entire film that kind of, and that's like Shane Black to a T, right? That's like Shane Black isms. If you were to kind of put it into a couple words, it's like this almost uncomfortable, inappropriate irreverence, but it's just hilarious all throughout.
Like totally. Like the whole time you're watching the movie, you're kind of like, okay, this movie is one step removed from being like an inappropriate Me Too kind of comedy movie, which makes me uncomfortable to watch, but it's not quite there. It's like right on the edge of it. And you're like, all right, I think this is pretty funny. And then they'll change tones and they'll go to the next thing. And like, you know, like they joke at the beginning, the gay towel, or at one point his daughter uses the word retard, but you're like, okay, this is in the 70s. So those are like nods to the era, and they're not offensive really. They're just sort of like, right. Like, you know what I'm saying?
It's
Every
like,
joke in the movie kind of feels
I mean,
like
it's sometimes pointing out things that are offensive, but you're recognizing like, that's why things have changed. Like, that's why it's like, this is you getting slapped in the face with something that is appropriate to some people or used to be appropriate. And now you look at it and it's hilarious to you because you're like, that would never happen. That could not, you could not say, you could not put that in a child's video at school, like in a children's video, you know? And like, yeah, there's just so much about that. So I think that's part of why he's kind of a genius. Cause even the stuff with, you know, do you want to see my dick? Because I got a big dick. The kid's like 12, right? And you're like, what is happening in this? And then he's like, for $20. He's like, what? No, we already gave you 20. I was like, what am I saying? And he's like walking away. And then the scene cuts. And then they're in the car. And he's like, do you want to see my dick? God, kids these days, you know? So it's like, it's so inappropriate. And you're almost like, where's this going? But then he follows it with like really beautiful humor.
Yeah. It's like really, really well constructed. It has the Shane Black like caper story in LA just to a T. I mean, he's just done that so many times. You know, one thing Irwin told us when he was on the show was that back in, 2003 or whatever, 2004, Shane Black had written both The Nice Guys and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and he was trying to decide which script to move forward with. And the reason they moved forward with Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was because the production cost of The Nice Guys was going to be so much higher, because they had to dress everything like the 70s. So it becomes much more of a period piece and a harder movie to make. And I do think that Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and this movie and Lethal Weapon 1, they all have that same LA. I mean, The Last Boy Scout isn't, I think that's, I'm almost positive that's a Shane Black script. That feels like it has to be a Shane Black script.
I've heard that, but I cannot. Quiz show.
Yeah, I'm almost positive.
Quiz show.
He just has that style that he likes to write with. I mean, he's truly one of those guys that everything he writes has his fingerprints all over it. Yeah, but I do think this movie is wonderful. I think it's probably Gosling's funniest movie. Like, it's where he's the funniest. He's just like, he shows a side of himself, I think, that you can see him being cast in different types of parts than what we're used to. You know what I mean? Like, we've all seen Gosling in First Man and Drive and like Place Beyond the Pines, that kind of role. That,
and like even the romantic side of him in The Notebook, and you look at him in like Crazy Stupid Love, where he's so cool, or even what he does in La La. But this is a different type of role for him because he's also kind of aged a little bit in this, right?
Yeah, and he has to really do physical comedy in this movie, right? He has to do, I mean, that stuff in the stall, or when he finds the dead body by the tree, or when he cuts it, like that stuff is classic physical comedy stuff that you're not supposed to be able to do that well when you're a guy who's as leading man as he is. Yeah,
like as badass and cool as he is. And that's why it's you look at him and he's like frustratingly talented, because you look at even, breaking the glass in the beginning and it slashes his wrist. Like in the theater, I remember you and I were like crying, laughing at that. And it happens in the first few minutes. And you're like, damn, Gosling's he's on in this one. You could just tell he's on.
Well, he also does the thing where he like wraps the thing and it comes undone for a second, and then he folds it back in and he takes his hand and he's like, why would you grab your wrist and move your hand like that? Like, what is he doing?
He's so stupid in this movie. It's the perfect thing, because every single positive, I guess, progress that he makes, positive step in the case, is everything's by accident, or he's completely wrong. He's like flat, which is why it's probably a flat, which is why the numbers don't make sense, which is probably why the date's written that way. Worst detective ever. They go there, the building's just gone. But he
has a line in that scene that is so phenomenal. It's one of my favorite lines of the whole movie. He's like, what's the problem? We got paid. Everybody here's having a drink. And
It's the afternoon. Everyone's having a drink.
It's his daughter and Healy, and just he's holding a drink. That's like one of my favorite lines in the whole movie. It's so good.
It's excellent. He's excellent in this. So we are gonna have, I believe we're gonna have a couple generals on the show today. Is that correct?
Yes, we do. We got both Call Sign Whiskers and Call Sign Quiz Show coming on the show here pretty soon to talk about fist pump moments. But in the meantime, just a quick reminder to everybody here: we have Sam Levine coming on tomorrow night on the Action Guys, which should be a lot of fun. As well as the fact that next week we have the next edition of the General Debate, which we will be announcing. We will be announcing the competitors in Thursday's General Debate, probably come Monday or Tuesday at the latest. You guys will be assigned who is competing. We've gotten over 10 submissions this time, so it'll be a little bit of a tighter race to figure out who's in. But remember, that's going to be debating the greatest movie death of all time. So 2 people from Team Guy, 2 people from Team Bateman. I'm down, so I need you guys to win. Fucking win for me. Come on.
Yeah. No, it's not going to happen. It's going to be a 2-0 for Guy. You're going to do some stupid TikTok videos. That's what it's going to be like. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I'm excited to hear what these people have to say, because I want to know what direction they're going to go in. There's 10 submissions. How are we going to narrow it down? How are we narrow this down to 4? I mean, is the first thing, do we go first timers only?
I think, and by the way, if you guys are watching and listening, you don't know what we're talking about. This is a debate style show where members of the Action Army at the general tier of Patreon battle it out in a 5-round debate show with Drew and I as the judges. And so they're going to be talking about the greatest movie death of all time. I think to choose who the generals are, we probably want to make sure we're giving some first timers. I think that's one thing to focus on. Obviously, we want to make sure that people aren't choosing the same option, which is another one. And then definitely weighting people who are fans of me would be probably the third.
No, I don't think that's part of the curriculi, as they say. I think the other part is that they have to be 2 Team Guy and 2 Team Bateman. So we'll have to figure all that out. Paul is going to have to help with that. And of course he's always unbiased, even though we know in his heart, he's actually Team Guy, of course. So while we're waiting on these generals to come in, do you want to talk at all about your fist pump, or should we wait for them?
I think we could jump into ours first. I mean, I just want to make 100% sure they have the link. I said that I had sent it. I'm almost positive I sent it. Yeah, I sent it earlier.
Maybe they just don't want to come on.
We're just waiting for them. But I think talking fist pump for us for a couple minutes here before they jump in is a great idea. So for me, I think my fist pump moment in this movie has got to be the scene in the car when they're driving and and Gosling is falling asleep. Actually, God, I love this movie so much. I think it's when they're in the car driving, and he's like, and he shows him the ankle gun, and he's like, pretty sweet, right? He's like, yeah. You gotta put your hands on the car. Drives itself. Really? He takes his hands off, and then they're like talking to a bee.
Yeah, the bee shows up,
and the bee's smoking a cigarette. And like, just like the absurdity of that scene, and like thinking about writing that into the script is just so fucking funny to me.
Well, and the call back to it is so good. I thought that's maybe what you were going to reference. When he goes and he dives for the ankle gun, he's like, "Your ankle gun? Where's your ankle gun?" He's like, "What? I didn't tell you I have an ankle gun." He's like, "In the car." He's like, fucking dreamt it. So good.
It's so funny. I think like just generally speaking, almost everything Gosling does in this movie, I love that, and I also fucking adore when Gosling falls asleep on the diving board when Crow's telling him the story about the diner getting shot.
Oh, I love it. Best story I've heard in my whole life.
And he falls asleep. And then the next day when he references it, and he's like, I got shot. Yeah? He just doesn't acknowledge that he has no idea what he's talking about.
He's like, that would make national news. When's the last time you were on national news? He's like, on tour. For what? For the diner. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I told you last night. And he just changes the subject. So good. All right, so we got Quiz Show and Whiskers here hanging out, and they popped in at about the exact same time. But I think Whiskers might have edged him out by half a second. I'm going to pull him on here. So call sign Whiskers.
Call sign the Honey Badger, very resilient.
Call sign the Honey Badger, very resilient, I guess is the other one we can call him. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, guys. How are you guys?
Doing
We're good, man. We understand you're here to give us a piece of your mind. No, just kidding. We understand you're here to talk
really.
Nice guy.
Dude, you're pulling off the sick. Oh no, Tony! You've got the beard going on and the shaved head.
Yeah,
it's sick, man. Obadiah,
that's a good one. Obadiah Stane.
Yeah.
You trying to go?
Too bad he doesn't win that battle.
Yeah, I know. I was like,
yeah,
it's funny you say that because we were trying to give Matty Gunner a call sign before this, and one of the ones we thought of was maybe call sign Koba or call sign Mad Dog. We're like, we can't give him a call sign of a guy who gets his ass kicked in a movie, even if one of them indestructible.
Because he's an actual champion. Like Matty Gunner has an actual belt, so he's beating some fools.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I felt like Koba, the unbeatable Russian, was strong, but Drew reminded me he did lose, no matter how sweet.
Yeah, he lost.
He does lose to a physics teacher. It's a physics teacher.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to just talk about Warrior?
Can we?
All right. So General, tell me, 5-star.
5-star General.
How you feeling about what's your fist bump moment here in The Nice Guys?
Okay, so it's not really a fist bump moment, but I just find it hilarious. It's that entire sequence where like it starts with the girl wearing the Native American headdress, and he's like, I'm a very good actor. Shoot me. And then she shoots him. Then and he's like, oh, and then he falls over the thing, and he tumbles down the mountain, on the hill, and he's like, oh shit, what happened? Where's my gun?
He loses his gun.
He sits up and he's still holding the glass, and the glass is not broken. That's
exactly. And then he's about to smoke a cigarette, and he turns on, and then he just turns his head and he sees Sid's face all bashed in, and he's like, ah! Yeah. And he just runs away. And then
he has a lot of really good screams in this movie. Yeah.
And then it continues and he's like, Haley, get down here. It's like, how did you get down there? It doesn't matter. Get down here. Get down here. And then he's like, so how did you get down here? Did you fall? No, I didn't fall. It was slippery.
Dude, at the end of the movie, I'm dying because when he's finally chasing the film reel through the glass and he falls again after Healy calls him out for falling off of the roof, I was dying laughing. How many times they make him fall?
When he's like, oh, it was slippery. He's like, so why was it slippery? I was interviewing the mermaids. Like, why were you interviewing the mermaids? They had information.
The whole thing.
And then they're moving the body, and then they're like, all right, let's just get rid of this body. And they chuck him over the fence, and they're like, okay, we're good. And then it pans to the wedding.
Yeah.
And then the body just smacks the table, and then everyone just starts yelling.
I have to admit that in the theater, the body hitting the table, because I was already dying laughing through the whole thing. That's when you don't think it can get any funnier, and it caps off the scene. It's the perfect little cherry on top when they throw the dead body on the table.
I would say that in general, the whole party sequence is pretty phenomenal. Even just beginning with them walking in and him offering him a drink and be like, no. And then you just cuts to Gosling taking 2 drinks.
Yeah.
He's just double fisting him.
When he walks up to the girls, he's like, hi, my name is Amelia. Have you seen Amelia? Yeah, Amelia. My name is Amelia.
Do you have a favorite line in the movie?
Damn it.
It's okay if you don't.
Nah, man. You know what sucks is I was watching it this morning. That's why I'm mad. Dang it. Nah, I don't got one.
It's okay, man. It happens to the best of us. It really does.
Yeah.
All right, General. Big time salute to you, brother. Thank you so much for stopping by.
I think it's when just like what Ben said, when he goes for the ankle gun. He's like, "Where's the ankle gun?" He's like, "What ankle gun?" Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
that's my favorite line.
All right, love it, man. Love it. Big time salute
to you, 5-star certified gold 5-star General Whiskers.
Thank you for stopping by.
All right, guys. Have a nice day.
Poor Whiskers.
Poor Whiskers, man. But the name works well for him. I really think it does. Looking through the chat here before we bring on Call Sign Quiz Show, I see a couple names in here. I see Paige Chowdhury in here. Big time salute to you, General Chowdhury.
Hey, General Chowdhury. Good to see you.
See you in here. She's Nice Guys look so good. Every scene should be an art piece. Yeah, it's true. I mean, it is. I mean, that's probably why the set design was so expensive, is because it does. It's all colorful and 70s and awesome, which is great.
Yeah, they do a really, really good job. I mean, like everything from the music to, I love when they cut to the old clips, whether it's in the auto show or in the clip in the beginning with the kids in the towels. It's all done really, really well. I mean, that's a lot about why this movie is kind of surprising to me that people don't celebrate it more, because it's not just funny. They do so many things great in this. So I don't know. We'll see if Quiz Show has a great fist pump moment for us to talk about. Looks like he's ready to come on. So here we go.
Rock and roll.
Hey,
What's up, Chris Show? How you doing, bro?
Doing all right. How are you?
Doing well, man. Doing well. I feel like you reached out when we announced this one, and you generously were like, if there's another general that wants to be on this one, I want them to have a shot because I was on recently. But you reached out immediately, which leads me to believe you must be a big fan of this movie.
Love the movie. Love it.
Yeah. He was telling us in the general's bunker that he saw the midnight showing. There was no one else there, or very few other people there, which doesn't surprise me because when Ben and I went, it was not packed either.
Yeah,
but what is it that you love so much about this movie, man?
I think the script itself is so smart and so funny. And when you talk about the irreverence behind it, it's both a send up of that hard-boiled film noir LA type story, and also a legitimate entry in that genre. Like all the way down to Kim Basinger is in it, and she won the Oscar for LA Confidential,
right?
Yeah.
So it knows exactly what it's doing. And that's one of the reasons it makes it so enjoyable.
It is like a really funny play on that, because I think like in the vein sort of like Fletch or other movies that are kind of like that have that LA noir kind of semi-comedy vibe to them, because it's a pretty easy genre to spoof. It does feel like this movie could be a straight up 100% thriller if you wanted to just write the script differently. Like it literally could function the exact same way. All the scenes could be the same. It's not like there's any situations in this movie that are just like totally absurd that you don't need. I mean, you would cut out a couple things, I guess.
Well, I mean, you talk about the genre that came before the thriller that we loved, right? It was the exotic or erotic thriller. Imagine if this movie just came out for real, like 20 years beforehand, or I guess 30.
Michael Douglas. It was Michael Douglas, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, Gosling he's a private detective. He's obviously an alcoholic. He has some pretty bad parenting issues. These are all traits of the classic sort of noirs. Yeah. But also he has stuff like he's paranoid of murderous bees.
Yeah, it's because they kill people, man.
By Hannibal Buress in a car.
Yeah,
so fucking.
See that? You hear that? You hear that? That was a quiz show drop right there. Hannibal Buress. Yeah. He's the voice of the bee. Did you know that? Did you know that, Ben?
I recognized the voice, but I couldn't have told you it was Hannibal Buress. I knew I recognized it, but I would not have been able to tell you that it was Hannibal Buress. And your winner. So, quiz show. What's your fist pump moment?
It's funny. It was actually, I was thinking of a few of them, and Ferris's choice was definitely up there. Like the whole discovering the body is like classic Abbott and Costello level comedy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I think to differentiate too between some of your choices, I'd go with when everything sort of kind of clicks and they go to Misty Mountain's house and they're able to figure out that the camera setup is in the desk, and everyone they're finally like, this is what we have to do. We have to go to the auto show. We have to do this. And then Mrs. Glenn is like, hold on. I've listened to everything that you said. Are you saying that my niece is dead? And Gosling, as excited as possible, like, yes.
I see. Like, I just wrote that down. I thought he was annoyed. Is he excited or annoyed? I thought
he was just super excited.
I thought he was just like, yes. Like, have you been paying attention? And then he's like, oh.
No, I thought he was just really happy to say yes.
And then they give him the look, and he's like, oh, yes. I'm sorry, your daughter, or your niece was murdered.
It's always like super interesting too to see when you have like an actor or an actress who has like that early part and you kind of recognize them, and then a couple years later they break through in something like a significantly more, like just like a much bigger deal. Because the girl that plays Amelia, I don't have her in front of me, but she's obviously it's the same girl.
Yeah, Margaret Qualley. She was from Once Upon a Time in
Hollywood.
I know. I was watching this. Like, I just saw you at. Oh shit! I just saw you. Yeah.
And like I think she's obviously good. Yeah, she is, and she's really good, obviously, in Once Upon a Time. I feel like she's like going to have a massive career now. Like I think that's about what it takes, right? Is just a string of good choices like this, and then of course Once Upon a Time. So I feel like she
was also really great on HBO's The Leftovers too.
Oh yeah. So do you have a favorite line in this movie, Quisha?
I mean, there are tons of great lines. Yeah. They're like the number of jokes, like the hit to miss ratio is real high for hit jokes. But I think one of my favorites is actually one of the very last lines when they finally meet up at the bar again and they talk about, they're getting away with it, etc. And he's like, well, at least you're drinking again.
Yeah,
that's one of the best. I definitely remember Drew and
I feel great. He looks horrible in that scene.
Yeah. I definitely remember you and I like died laughing at that moment.
Yeah, because you think the movie's done. You think they're just gonna softball it on the way out. And he's like, "I'm sorry, you look Filipino." He's like, "I look Mexican." It's like, "I look Mexican." It's like, but we got our first case.
So PLD here in the private chat says, "I like that hit to miss ratio. That sounds like a definite AMA stat category to have. It does sound like something we would have done back in the day, back in like the RAR days." Yeah. But anyway, thank you so much for coming on, Quiz Show. We very much appreciate it. Big time salute to you, sir. I've got a certified diamond 5-star general. Just all the medals and stripes. Yeah, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Salute.
Take care, brother. The guy would walk in, and it would look like there was just an ornament on his chest of medals, massive diamonds hanging off. Him and 5-star general Malthana.
Yeah.
Whiskers. Yeah, so I guess I didn't talk about mine yet, which I'm actually shocked that no one actually, I think, truly took it. We referenced it early on, but no one actually took it. My true fist pump moment in this movie, that moment where I looked around and I was like, oh my God, I love this movie. I cannot wait to watch the rest of it. It's the whole sequence that starts with the protest and ends with the end of the burn down house scene. It is so perfectly written and executed, and the cuts that go back and forth and the things that they say in there about like being dead and being able to hear. It's when he steps on her hand and like all of the, what about the masks and like who wants to earn $20? Like every single part of that scene is excellently written. I like, what about the birds? It's protesting the air. You're protesting the air. Sorry, what?
It's also especially funny right now to watch protesters because there are so many like just protesters right now and there's so many just protests, but there are also those people we see on Instagram posting shit where I'm like, yeah, I kind of feel like you're doing this for the wrong reasons. You know what I mean? Or like I'll see some stuff where I'm like, I don't really think that you actually know what you're talking about or even that you have any investment in this other than you just want to use a hashtag. Right. And so when you see young people lying down being like super dramatic about it, it just does make you laugh a little bit about like, you know,
I can't hear you, man. We're dead. Like,
yeah,
like her boyfriend's dead. Yeah, like dead. He's like, how did he die? We can't hear you. We're dead. He's like, oh God damn it, fuck this. So good. I thought you were dead. Yeah. Quiz Show was saying that I mentioned the protest of the bunker and he didn't want to step on that choice, but it's perfectly written and executed. And yeah, and then I think it goes great into the next scene because it cuts to, you know, what cock and balls wants to make $20, and then it goes to them driving. Like, what the fuck is this? And then I think my favorite line, I might as well get it out of the way now, is when they go in the house and he says, you know, Gosling goes, what the fuck is this, Chet? And then Chet looks around and he goes, place looks so much bigger now. It's so perfect. It's so fucked, but it's so funny.
Dude, I think if we worked at it, we could come up with 50 lines in this movie that all could be the best line in the movie because there's so many. Like I love when they're at the bowling alley. He's like, Jesus Christ, one at a time. And she goes, you used the Lord's name in vain. And he goes, no, I didn't, Janet. Because it was very useful for me, Janet. Or something like that. I can't remember the exact line, but like,
yeah. And I was trying to see. Oh yeah, and then the whole the ending it with the want to see my dick scene. He's like, we already gave you $20. What am I saying? And then back kids these days. But yeah. So talking a little bit about this movie, you know, Quiz Show mentioned it, and then we kind of brushed on it really quickly if you were paying close attention. But no one really watched this, dude. Like the theaters weren't packed, didn't do well. I'll pull up the numbers here in just a second, but like. Why the hell? Like Gosling, Crow, 2016,
yeah.
Good time for Gosling. So why did no one watch this?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think about Russell Crowe too at the point that this movie was made, you know, as the co-lead, like, you know, looking at his career from 2013, 14. So, all right. So he's in Man of Steel in 2013, Les Mis in 2012, both pretty high profile. He does Winter's Tale, Noah, Water Diviner, Fathers and Daughters before this. So, I mean, Winter's Tale was a movie. People didn't really watch it. Noah was kind of a flop. Water Diviner is the one he directed. Fathers and Daughters, I don't know. So his hit before this was, and he's not the star of Man of Steel. He's in it, but he's not the star. And people,
but he's good in it. Yeah,
people hate him in Les Mis,
except for you.
And I am Javert.
I am Javert.
Do not forget my name. Do not forget me.
Yeah, he people do not love him in that role. I'll be honest. When I saw him show up in the trailer, I was a bit shocked. I didn't know that he'd gained in look because even we'd even heard, and this is not something from Irwin, so I want to get that out of the way right away because I don't want to put his name on this. But we'd heard other things about him showing up on set and being overweight. Was being heavier than they had anticipated him being in the movie. And like, I was a little shocked because I hadn't seen Crow in a long time. And, this is a dude that in my mind, he's like, because of the kid that fell in love with him, kind of always sees him as Maximus. And obviously a lot of time has passed since.
I think when Irwin came on the show, he did actually talk a little bit about, because we asked him, when he showed up, were you guys like, okay, we have to rewrite this a little bit, change a little bit? And Irwin, I think, said when you're dealing with guys that are like of that level, like that caliber, you don't tell them to do shit. They show up, and that's what you're getting.
Well, you asked if you asked about his weight specifically, and Irwin went, "No, you don't say anything like that to Russell Crowe. It's Russell Crowe."
And I was just curious, it's like if you envision the movie in one way, you write the movie in one way. Like, I don't know, some directors are very particular about that sort of thing.
Well, I mean, it's the type of thing with Brando, right? When he showed up and they were like, all right, well, then we're just gonna have to make all your scenes like dark so we can't see you because you don't look the way that Colonel Kurtz is supposed to. Dude, I think it's a totally legitimate question. I just thought his answer was hilarious, but he's like, it's fucking Russell Crowe, dude. It's Russell Crowe and the nice guys. Like, what are we gonna say to Russell Crowe?
I also think, by the way, that like it's perfect. I wouldn't like it if Russell Crowe was 25 pounds lighter in this movie. I think it's better that he's burly like this, that he's kind of a bigger dude in this movie. I actually think the contrast between him and Gosling is perfect.
Well, yeah, because Gosling's the one that's in shape and gets his ass kicked all movie long.
Yeah. And also Crowe being like an enforcer with the brass knuckles, it just feels really believable that he's such like a burly dude. He's also like, he plays this character perfectly. I mean, the beginning when Amelia's giving him the money, she's like, just being around you makes me feel safe. And he cuts her off. And he's like,
"You're short.
You're $7 short." It's just like that, just that alone.
And like immediately you see her face. She's like, "Oh,
I'm sorry. Let me see what I can find."
Oh, it's horrible. But yeah, okay. So looking at the numbers, this movie cost around $50 million to make with the budget and the the advertising. So not bad, but it's grand total. It's whole gross worldwide, domestic and international is 62 million. So not a lot there, not a big profit. And that makes sense why no one's demanding a sequel and no studio is willing to back it. But like, I don't get it, man. Okay, so what was going and like here's what came out the same weekend: Angry Birds movie and Neighbors 2 Sorority Rising. Nice Guys made $3.8 million. Neighbors 2 made 8.8, and Angry Birds made 10.8. The same day.
Yeah, it just seems like at the time that this movie came out, all the heat was on Gosling, but it just wasn't enough. But again, if you look at Gosling's few years before this movie, so you look at the period when he comes back, because he's the Notebook guy in the early days, right? He kind of goes away for a few years, right? After the Notebook's 04, but like he sort of goes away for a little bit. When he comes back with Half Nelson, Lars and the Real Girl, like 06, 07, he does like a bunch of really interesting projects, and after Lars and the Real Girl, he takes 3 years off again. So by the time 2011 hits, he's kind of establishing himself with Drive, Crazy Stupid Love as being like super handsome and a good actor. He has an Oscar nomination. So you would have thought the years leading up to this movie were killing it for him. But you look at the movies and it's like Place Beyond the Pines in 2012 is the only movie that comes out. Gangster Squad 2013. No one watched that movie. Only God Forgives in 2013, which another Derek Cianfrance movie kind of went by the wayside. And then The Big Short directly before this, which he's great in The Big Short. And that movie was a big deal. But I mean, that's the only movie of significance that he's done in the 3 years prior to The Nice Guys coming out. I think they just banked on him being the guy. And I think the world hadn't totally caught up. I think it was about 2 more years before he was the guy.
Well, it's really interesting too now. And so I think this is going to lead well into our next conversation, which is going to be, it's not like an over under proper, but it's more of like a what's next here for Gosling, because if you look at his IMDb, the only thing that he has coming up is something called Project Hail Mary, and it's directed by the same guy that directed 21, 22 Jump Street, which is promising. Phil Lord, and I think those movies are hilarious. Yeah, Phil Lord, Chris Miller, and I guess what I want to know is what does Gosling do now? Because, you know, you talked about those few years leading up to this, but so after Nice Guys La La Land in 2016, he doesn't really do a lot. He does a movie called Song to Song. He does a short movie. He obviously does Blade Runner 2049, which is massive. So that's 2017. Then he does one movie in 2018, First Man, one TV movie in 2019 where he voices a blue penguin, My Favorite Shapes by Julio Torres. So Quiz Show, I'm sure, knows all about that. And then he's got something announced. So, like, did the world get Goslinged out after La La Land?
It doesn't feel like it, right? Like, if we think about what we're talking about here, that this movie came out in a period where he should have been the guy. Maybe he was becoming the guy right then. You know, so 2015, 2016, 2016, that's Big Short, Nice Guys, La La. That's a really good 3 in a row.
Yeah.
You know, and you mentioned Song to Song, which is Terrence Malick. So it's not going to be a big time movie, but it's a big time director. So people pay attention. And his next movie the same year being Blade Runner, going into First Man, Chazelle. I mean, you would think he didn't put out too much material. He obviously spent the few years before that run making all these movies. So sometimes these guys will take time off, but like, I don't really get it. I think, to be honest with you, man, looking through here, it kind of seems like we're in this era now where if you don't do a comic book movie, if you're not a superhero in a big franchise, you are a step behind everyone else.
What about Gosling as the Green Lantern?
You mean could he do it?
Yeah.
I don't know if he'd be perfect as Hal Jordan, because he's great, but he has a different kind of confidence. Like Tom Cruise's energy is like way more that energy, and Gosling's sort of not a comp for that. He's like a little too quietly cool. There are definitely superheroes he could play. I mean, no question. I think what I mean is...
sorry, go ahead. I want you to finish your point, but I also want to help with the trajectory here.
Yeah, I think my point is, like, if you go compare him to, let's say, other white leading men in their late 30s, guys who are like really in shape and handsome with chiseled jawlines. Let's compare him to Chris Pine and, you know, Chris Hemsworth, and Chris Evans. All these guys. Every single one of them is a superhero, right? All of them have that thing going for them. And if you take away Deadpool, it's not even close. But because of Deadpool, it's like Ryan Reynolds is on the same level as Ryan Gosling, which is insane. Because, like,
I don't even know if that's true at this point. I think at this point, Ryan Reynolds is probably more famous than Ryan Gosling, which is kind of crazy to think, but I think he is. I think he definitely is, because he's been around longer. He's done more. He's had more iconic characters, and now with Deadpool, he's kind of taken the cake here. Why didn't he get on the superhero train? Is it because, you know, something like, you know, again, Quiz Show here talking about is that he, you know, the choices he makes are unconventional. And it's true, you know, but the thing is with something like Blade Runner 2049, maybe he was too sucked up in that to commit to anything that, or maybe because he was that guy, they didn't see him as a superhero. But I just don't really understand why he missed that boat. But what does he do next? How does he go ahead?
Yeah, I think the answer to the question is, if you go and look at a lot of these actors, Chris Evans has openly talked about turning down Captain America, right? He didn't want to do it. He eventually changed his mind and decided to do it, and obviously changed his career for the better. You look at Gosling and the choices that he made. I mean, it's true. His whole career has been a series of like weird choices and odd decisions. I mean, dude, he made Remember the Titans in 2000, which like is a big Disney football movie. The literal next movie he's in, he's playing a neo-Nazi in The Believer. That's like a very aggressive choice to make as your next role. But he's always wanted to do
Blue Valentine and Half Nelson. But that's also why people regard him as such a great actor. So it's like, where's the disconnect? Where's the Gosling disconnect? He's badass. He's good looking. He's a talented actor. He's funny. Why is he not where he needs to be? Is it because there's just too many other people that fill that role?
I think it's honestly, like we said, man, I think probably if Ryan Gosling wants to stay competitive, he's going to have to do one of two things. He's going to have to be he's going to have to be the Leo in a Scorsese movie, a movie of that size or caliber, right? Like a well-regarded, well-loved movie, and do like a few of them.
I mean, dude, he was just Leo and Scorsese.
You mean you're talking about in the Chazelle movies and in Blade Runner?
I mean, he was Kay in Denis Villeneuve's Blade Runner 2049. Like, that's about his fucking big main. I mean, like, Timothée Chalamet is about to be even larger than he is now. He's about to become Leonardo DiCaprio in Titanic, I think. I think that's what Timothée Chalamet is going to become right as soon as Dune comes out. And that's basically what Gosling was offered in the moment when he was massive. Lars and the Real Girl. I love Lars and the Real Girl.
Me too.
So that's like, it just doesn't, it's weird because that was That movie was beautiful. It was an Oscar-winning movie, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I think when I say that he has to do that, I don't mean that he hasn't done it. I mean he has to, if he wants to not be a
Keep doing
superhero
it.
like Leo, he's got to do it for like 5 more years and just keep turning them out. And he has to just put quality and quality and quality and get into that like mid-40s range that a lot of these guys get to when they become household icons. The thing is, I just think like if he wants to fast track it, I kind of think he's got to play a superhero, which is bizarre.
Who in their 30s is a male that has not been a superhero, has maintained that top level status as an actor? Are they only superheroes now?
Right now,
in their 30s, like think about like the last 10 years, actors that went from in their late 20s to their, let's say the range is late 20s to early 40s in this 10-year window that we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Pine hasn't played a superhero, right? He was in Wonder Woman and he was in Star Trek, so he like kind of plays a super. You know, I think
I mean, not even kind of. I mean, I think if you look at Wonder Woman, he is half of that movie. I mean, maybe not half because Diana's so incredible, but like, you know what I mean.
Yeah, he's the other lead. I mean, he's the other main
and
character
he's
in the movie.
He's not just another lead. He's great in it, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. I think there's not many. I think if we pulled the list, it would probably take a little longer than this second because we kind of organically got to this point in the conversation. But you would be looking at guys who, because I mean, Gosling's 40, right? So we've watched him through now the heart of his career since Titans over the last 20 years, really put together a big career. You'd be looking at somebody who started to get their breakout in like 2008, 2009. What have they done in the last decade? If you want somebody younger, I think really, and I can't think of many, honestly. Like I think about like my favorite movies of the last few years and who's in them. There's not many guys.
Well, because dude, even at this point, and this is crazy to say, it's like Batista's a bigger actor than Gosling at this moment. Even though Gosling is probably still more famous, think about what Batista's done in the last run and what Gosling's done in the last run. Like,
yeah,
just because of Avengers, just because of being a superhero, he is massive, you know. So I don't know. I'm curious to think if there's any other people that are in their 30s, because the people that pop in my mind in this age range that I'm talking about are like Miles Teller on the young end, Michael Fassbender on the back end. Adam Driver is in there, Gosling is in there, but otherwise, all these other guys that we're talking about that are in this age range that are superstars, they are almost all in these movies that you're talking about. And again, with Pine, he's in the second Wonder Woman as well. So it feels like he's just as much an integral part as a superhero would be. So I don't know. I know what you're saying, because I know that this conversation is like, it needs more like research, but I think we can at least have a little bit of a surface conversation, unless there's anything else you want to really talk about with the nice guys.
No, I mean, I just think we've reminisced about a lot of our favorite moments. Anything you guys want to throw in, by the way, any additions to the conversation or questions you guys have? We do have Streamlabs and Super Chats open. Obviously, this show not being the major one where we go on tangents about non-movie related stuff, but in case you guys did.
Well, since you say that, I do want to say we have one from call sign #Ladies Night here for the $7 donation on Streamlabs. He says, "I love this movie. Ryan Gosling is fantastic, and Matt Bomer has a creepy role." Yeah, is that how you say his name? The killer. Matt Bomer?
I thought it was Bomer, but yeah, it's one or the other. I know. Yeah.
And then Holly March is my favorite character. Don't say "and stuff." Just say "they're doing anal." What did I tell you about saying "and stuff"? I hate you. Yeah, I fucking hate you. Yeah, it's so good.
She's really good. She's really
she's incredible. I think she should have a bigger career as well. So anyway, what were you saying before we did the Streamlabs super chat there?
Yeah, I was just trying to think. I was gonna look at the IMDb Pro star meter here and see if I could see like who's up there at the top right now. Just because like that's kind of how it works, right? People that are getting searched the most.
Yeah, like, for sure.
Yeah, so let me pull that up really quickly and see who we got.
I'm really sure who the most searched people would be right now in that age range. Probably people that are doing something on TV, right? Something that's like a Netflix movie. Maybe what's that guy? Pete Davidson, Judd Apatow.
Yeah.
That type of thing. I don't know. I see Call Sign Canada here in the chat. I feel like, did Call Sign Canada want to come on to talk about this?
He might have. I was trying to remember, but I couldn't. I could only find the people that I pulled. So maybe I was wrong.
How are you doing about the Star Tracker there? Because if you can't find it in 2 seconds right now, then we're gonna skip it.
We're gonna skip it. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna skip it. All right. All right. So Is there anyone else in that age range that, or in that range that you're talking about without the star meter that you can think of?
Like not really. I'm trying to think of like other romantic leads, other like boyfriends in movies, like the younger brother types of characters. I mean, you have like the kid from 13 Reasons Why, right? Like he's like that kid is a big thing into the Sun and Warrior. You've got a Ty Sheridan, right? He's a Cyclops in those newer movies. Like some of those X-Men actors in general, like Aaron Taylor Johnson, but he's played a superhero actually. And no, I just invalidated my point because he played Cyclops.
Right.
Yeah, these kids are famous for that reason. That's like the reason they got famous. I can't think of almost anyone. I can't think of, and I also think it's one of the things that makes Gosling such an interesting actor.
See, Keanu hasn't been a superhero yet. Yeah, but he was, Keanu's also not in this age range that I'm talking about. I don't think. Yeah. Keanu's a little bit, he's like, I think the generation right beforehand. And he also has like a massive, massive career behind him of like decades and decades. Would the Nice Guys be bigger if it was a Netflix series? I mean, maybe maybe if it, I think it still needed the movie release in order to get the Netflix series. I don't think it would have been successful if it was just a Netflix series originally, though. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, look, this is kind of what I think. If it was a Netflix series and Gosling and Crowe were in it, and on Netflix they were both available as free content for you to watch, as long as you're a subscriber or whatever. Mm-hmm. I think it would have been more successful because people would have seen it because they had to go out of their way to make it to the theater to watch it. And I think that it's available on HBO. You can watch it on HBO. And if you have HBO, maybe you do watch it. But like, if you're one of those new releases on Netflix and you pop up to the top of the screen and you're in that top 10, everyone watches you. We've seen it happen time and time again, whether it's Tiger King or, Extraction, everyone's talking about you.
Or just go with it.
Which seems to be there often.
I've watched it many times.
So I think maybe
Neil's a superhero. That is fair. This is call sign Coach Kyle there.
Call sign Coach Kyle.
But yeah, anyway, I think that's a fun conversation for us to maybe have in the future with a little bit more research done. But it is an interesting point you make about all these guys being as famous as they are. Leo is like a very big exception, but he again has been famous for his, like, that's what I was saying. It's like having maybe that Timothée Chalamet moment if you're looking at someone right now where they're going to be put in a massive movie with a massive director that everyone's going to watch. He's so goddamn young. And I mean, Chalamet has already proven that he can act very, very well. So he's obviously got a little bit more under his belt at the point. But
Lucas Hedges was somebody who was suggested in here. I mean, he's good. But again, like these are all guys that are, sort of brand new. It feels like.
I was almost going to say Nicholas Hoult, but it's like, oh yeah, he's beast.
Yeah, exactly. Even some of these guys, like they're up and coming, but like Lucas Hedges is like a significant person because he was in a big Oscar movie from a couple years ago and he got an Oscar nom, but like he's not famous. If you talk to my mom or my dad, your mom,
I'll be honest, I can't think of who Lucas Hedges is off the top of my head right now.
He's the nephew in Manchester, and then he was in he was in the movie with the Edgerton movie, Boy Erased. Then he was in another big movie. He might have been Lady Bird.
Yeah,
he's the brother. He's like the brother in mid-90s. He's in a lot of stuff.
I'll be honest. I don't know. He's definitely not. He's definitely not in this conversation, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, so interesting there. But back to the Nice Guys. We love this movie. I think I said what my favorite lines were already. I think my actual favorite line is it's not Ultraman's. Do you have yours? Do you know what yours is?
I think I said it. Oh, maybe I didn't say it as my favorite line. I think I just love when he says, I just love that line when he says it's in the middle of the afternoon, everybody's having a drink.
Right.
That one. And then the one that Ferris mentioned also when he's at the party and he's delivering the whole, I'm Amelia. If you see her, let me know. I'll get you follow me. And I'll let you know. That whole thing that he does is incredible. It's like, it's just so funny.
Yeah, and then I said mine earlier when I was talking about my fist pump. So we got about 3-ish minutes left here. You talked about tomorrow we're having Sam Levine on, which I'm really excited about. There's some interesting Schmodown stuff coming your guys' way, I guess, because of all these matches that have been happening. Another one dropped today, right? Didn't Janine's drop, or it's about to drop?
Yesterday, right?
Yeah, it dropped yesterday. Okay.
Yeah, Janine and Jen Kemp and a bunch of matches. Yeah, so there's a lot of matches out there to go watch. And I know Christian, as well as announcing the date for Spectacular to hold the December 6th date, he also confirmed the 36-person singles tournament, all done through StreamYard. So that's a big one as well, which we'll have to hear more about soon. I think as far as additional content for patrons, you and I should be doing another Action Rewind coming up next week.
Mm-hmm. What are we doing for that one? Are we doing? Oh God, are we doing top 10 too?
Yeah, Team Action top 10 too. It should be. That's the end of the really painful downward slide. That'll be the last of the really bad ones because we get a win after that, and then there's the next match that's got the promo and like some pretty epic moments. I mean, I love the Shire Wolves match, even though it doesn't end well for us. It's still an awesome memory.
I played pretty poorly in that match as well.
Yeah, but you like steal the show in that match. So I feel like that one will be fun to watch. And then we go into some really fun stuff after that because that's the last of the Team Action matches. But then Drew gets to beat Dan, and there's a lot of fun stuff to watch. So
yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be definitely fun. I'm excited to actually replay this match with top 10 too. I'm curious to see how bad you and I really were that day, because at that point you and I just didn't give a shit. We were over it. We didn't care. We didn't care about winning. We didn't care about losing. We're like, whatever. If we win, they retire. If we lose, who cares? We lost. We're not going to get the belts. So we were like dejected, despondent, exhausted, because this was like week after week after week after taking the break. Well, because we went on a massive run of playing all the first few matches back to back to back to back, and then we had to take the break for the championship match. So we already felt burnt, and then we played top 10 2 right after that. So we'll be doing that, and then here we go.
Mojo was all sapped.
Paige Chowdhury, I want a call sign, but I need patience. I know. We got it. We're working on them. Trust me. We spitballed. We were trying to spitball one for Maddie Gunner because we thought we were on to one for like 10 minutes before the stream. Okay, maybe 7 minutes, but legitimately for quite some time.
We're getting that. So anybody who's a general, 5-star general, and has been waiting. I mean, I'm looking at our list here, and I think I was correct. I think we literally have like about 10 or 12 left, and we're trying to get through all of them, make sure that we have something clever and good for all of them. So if you don't have one yet, it's coming up soon. When Drew and I trust me, we're in constant communication about the generals, about the call signs. Make sure.
Call this out really quickly from Langley M. Neely. I would kill for a Nice Guys Kiss Kicks Bang Bang crossover film. Gosling, Crow, RDJ, Kilmer, Redford. Mystery set over 40 years apart in LA. Are you fucking kidding me, bro? Right, that
so good.
Right, that movie. Call Shane Black right now. I'll get you his number.
I'm gonna call Erwin real quick and see if I can get him on the phone.
Erwin, I just had a great idea. All right, guys. Well, as always, we love you. We appreciate you so much. Come back here, same time, same place tomorrow for an episode of The Action Guys. We'll be talking to Sam. I mean, obviously, we know that it says pick his favorite Drew and about going out on top, but we're also going to talk to Sam about his career. Sam's had a pretty crazy career as an actor. So, awesome. If you guys have questions for him at all and you're in the General's Bunker, let us know, because Ben and I are always going to have our General's Bunkers before shows, and get your questions in. You guys got to think about them. I always put you on the spot, so maybe now you have 24 hours to think about it. Anything else you got to say here, Bateman?
No, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see y'all very soon.
Salute.